Welcome to This Week in Rockford, episode 16, recorded February 8th, 2017. We have with us Ronnie Manns, independent candidate for Rockford Mayor. Ronnie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, we had a chance to talk a little bit pre-show, so I learned probably more about you than I knew, and we'd like to help everybody else know some of this information, too. Mm-hmm. Ronnie, let's start at the beginning. You're not a Rockford guy, right, originally?
No, I was born and raised in Brownsville, Tennessee.
And how'd you end up here?
Well, actually, when I got out of the military, I got my discharge in 91. I came up here to visit Mom, and like I say, I ran out of money, so she made me get a job. I've been here ever since.
Yeah. All right. Now, I know via Facebook and via your hat, you were a Marine.
9+ years, yes.
Yeah, and in the Marines, you were a military police officer?
Correct.
Great. Mm-hmm. And did that translate to your careers later in life?
Actually, the knowledge of law did. Not law enforcement, because at the time I'm assuming that everything was kind of full when I got up here in 91. So, but as far as law, yeah, it's definitely translated. It's helped a lot.
How'd you feel about your military experience?
You know, to me it was a lifesaver, honestly. Growing up, I was told I had two choices. I could be a farmhand or work in the local cotton gin.
Those don't sound like fun.
No. And I made a decision that I was going to be in charge of my life. I was going to dictate what my destiny was going to be, and it was not going to be either one of those two. So the only other option that I could see that made sense was the military.
What size family did you come from?
7 out of 10 kids raised by a single mom.
So you're number 7, single mom. Wow.
Yeah.
That is tough.
So it's kind of good to have a lot of siblings, and then it's kind of bad. Really.
Well, I suppose if you're the 7th one to get the food that's passed around the table, that's when it's bad. Yeah. I'm guessing later in life that may be fun to have 7 or I guess 9 other siblings.
Right. It really is. I mean, because if you pay attention and you allow them to be who they are, you get a chance to learn something, even from your own siblings. You see them do things and go, wonder why they did that.
Do any of them live around here?
Yes, I've got quite a few. I'm trying to count them in my head right now. Maybe 6.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of them ended up here.
Well, yeah, I mean, we followed Mom. Wherever Mom goes, the kids go. No, Mom don't get out of our sight. No. We migrate too.
Excellent. So, Ronnie, what kind of businesses do you have? I know you own your own businesses.
I've got a trucking company that's called Manns Logistics. And then I've got what I call a consumer advocate company, which is R. Manns and Associates. And basically what I do there is try to help them fix problems that normally they probably can't afford a professional to help fix.
Gotcha. Now, Ronnie, I know you sent something around a couple of weeks ago, and I believe you called it Rockford's Gettysburg Address. Mm-hmm. And tell us what that was about.
Basically, you can either continue to sit on the couch and complain, or you can get in the game. And I'm not much I had to get in the game. And I'm seeing where there are thousands of people who care and really do love this city. But they either are hesitant to make the necessary moves to better it, or they really don't know what to do. And in that situation, it has been my experience that you wait on your leaders to lead. If you have a group who would really do anything to help save their city, but they don't know exactly what to do, someone needs to step up. Someone needs to stand up. And I don't think we have much of that existing right now.
You don't feel like the existing leadership has done that?
I really don't. I really do not, because most of the issues that we face were the issues that we faced 4 years ago, and then 4 years before that. This one issue that really kind of confuses me is local news media said we was $5 million in the hole. I did a little research for all the information that I could find, and I'm discovering that this all started back in 2003. So why wasn't someone addressing this thing full time then? But it keeps getting worse. I mean, yeah, the city is getting better in some areas, but you still got 28% of the population living in poverty. No.
So, Ronnie, I took Rockford's Gettysburg Address to mean that you view this as an opportunity for Rockford to find its freedom. And what you talked about in it, and we'll post it. Is it okay with you if we post it on our website in our show
fine.
notes?
Yes.
Great, we'll post it there. I think you gave it to us as a Word doc. We'll put it in a PDF or a JPEG or something so everybody can see it without having Microsoft Word. The content of it had to do a lot with, I felt, economic, kind of the financing of cities and
Correct.
government.
Correct.
Tell us what you said. Roughly.
Basically, the system is what we've been working with so far. Most of the individuals who have taken or occupied that office came in promising to fix the issues. But if you continue doing the same thing the same way, you're not going to get a different result. You're going to get the same result. So my idea is, since this system that we currently have been tackled by plenty of other people, much more better educated than I, and it still hasn't been fixed, you have got to create a completely separate and independent revenue stream, which will act as like a temporary tire on your city.
Okay,
Keep your
so
city
like
moving forward.
A spare tire, because what
Yes.
you talked about, kind of to summarize, is you pointed out that trickle-down economics really has not worked.
No.
And does not work in the scope of a city. You then pointed out that one of the mechanisms used by a lot of cities was to kind of cut costs to the bone and then hope that the revenues would cover, the tax revenues would cover the costs once they were cut to the bone. But then the problem is that basically cost of doing business as government continues to have some increase, and meanwhile, depending on how the property tax base is going, you may have reduction in tax revenue, so you're not even staying where you were, let alone the inflation on the cost of doing business as government.
Correct.
So then you've got a spread that you're saying we need something to cover, kind of a different kind of solution to cover until we figure out a better plan, or until we can elevate kind of the entire economy here?
We need to really figure out a better plan. And I believe that the system as it was established early on works fine, but it takes attention. You have to watch it. You have to, I don't want to say nurture it or anything, but you have to be cognizant of it. And I think somewhere along the line, someone probably maybe took their eye off the ball. With cost increase, and you have cut expenses to the point where you can't cut anymore, but costs still going up. Well, now that the expenses that you cut wind up hurting the people that need it the most. So now they can't really contribute because they don't have really much to contribute left. Cost, now you got to increase revenue somewhere. Right now, we were talking about earlier, they're talking about pet owners paying extra. They're talking about maybe bringing back the vehicle sticker. That is the result. When you cut, things keep going up. You got to meet it somewhere. It's got to be balanced.
So what do you think of those ideas? Are those something you think are part of a proper plan, or are you talking about some whole new tax mechanism I've never dreamed of?
No, actually what I'm thinking about and what I've been working on, and I think I got it pretty well set. There may be a few things that you can tinker with, but anyone familiar with the TARP program?
Yeah.
And
government, relative
right.
to foreclosures, yeah.
Right. Now, you remember exactly what they did in that program.
Right.
They bailed out Wall Street, the banks, and two car companies, I believe. Basically, what they did was they told them, okay, we're going to take your toxic assets and give you X amount of time. I don't remember how long they gave them, but they gave them X amount of time to get themselves pretty well settled. on firm ground. And then they gave them their stuff back. The economy got better. I think basically if we could take that same model and that same principle and apply it here, I think we can do the same thing here.
Except who would be the agency that can bail out? What would be bailed out, and who would be the agency that would do the bailing?
The agency will be the very same people we always depend on when we're trying to cover revenue, the citizens. Except this time, you're giving them something in return.
So you're giving
instead of
them a
just taking
stake. You're giving them a stake in what they're bailing out.
And not only that, but when you put the system together, you want to give them benefits. Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's difficult for some people to ever get a decent credit score, right, because of their valid stuff on their credit. So then you talk to them about, okay, we'll clean off your credit, or we'll give you 12-month break, and all you have to do is worry about, repaying back the city or whatever.
So what you're talking about is taking more tax money from people, but providing a higher level of government service to people?
To the point where it doesn't cost them any more than what they're currently used to paying. You see, the problem with it is this. I call it the citizen bailout. And the reason I call it the bailout is because you're going to use the same kind of principles and the model that the TARP used. Now, the TARP wasn't a tax. Basically, what it was is, in my opinion, it was a loan to the businesses. Taxpayers gave the businesses this money to hold on to their troubled assets and give them time to get themselves on their feet. Well, why can't we do that for the people? We should be able to. We can do it for business. We should be able to do it for our citizens. I mean, think about it. A citizen is the backbone of the city. You can have all the beautiful buildings you want and the pretty roads you want. But if ain't nobody living in that city, then you really don't have much of anything. So I say we focus on the people. Take care of them, because they have always been there to take care of us. And when I say us, I'm talking about the city. Anytime the city has needed money, they've hit the citizens, and they've survived. They've gotten what they needed. Why can't we give back a little bit now? Why can't we share in this so-called prosperity? That's my biggest focus, is trying to find some kind of way to include them so they feel like they're a part of the city. Right now, you got quite a few people that don't feel like the city cares about them, and we need to change that.
Gotcha. So the part I'm probably still unclear on is where the money comes from for that.
Well, let's just say I'm looking at what I put together is, I wish we had a calculator here, but 28% of the population is living in poverty. And the population is 150,000. 28% of that, if I remember the numbers right, is 42,000 people.
I was going to say it'd be approaching, approaching 50.
So if you were to work this plan
third.
to the point where each applicant, let's just take those 42,000, we're paying $300 a month for the service. You're talking about what, $11, $12 million a month. That would more than help fill up the holes. That would more than help give you the opportunity to now say, property taxes are too high, how low can we cut? Because now you got the time to actually fix the old system. You don't now if you're trying to fix a system and trying to still run the city, I think that's where the problem has been all along.
So you're talking about almost like revenue for services.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you do when people who are on some sort of transfer payment or even the unemployed? Are you proposing asking someone who's on a very limited income for $300 or $400 a month?
No. You're going to have to do it the right way, and the right way is to go person by person. And I think that's one of our biggest issues is we try to set one plan and think it's a one-size-fit-all, and that's a mistake in my opinion because everybody's different. So I think it'll be better if we look at it in that realm. It's like just because you have a friend doesn't mean your friend thinks and acts and does exactly the way you do. Yeah. And to give them that break. A lot of people who struggle find it very hard to look the kids in their eyes and say to them, do your homework before the sun goes down because we don't have any electricity.
Sure.
And they're struggling from paycheck to paycheck, direct deposit to direct deposit. For me, that's not right. We're in one of the richest countries in the world, right? But we have people who've been struggling trying to make ends meet ever since the Great Depression. And that, really is wrong. It bothers me. I mean, we can do better. I know we can. And we're going to have to make some changes that no one else wants to touch or no one else wants to even envision.
What other sorts of changes do you think we need?
Well, a lot of times you hear the people say for business, right, or to create jobs we got to get the city perfect. Well, not perfect, but pretty good to where other companies will come in and locate here. I say not necessarily. We have very, very creative people here in Rockford that's been here all their lives. So part of my 10-step plan is to set up a Made in Rockford pledge. Basically, if you have an invention or an idea for innovation of an existing product and you're willing to manufacture it here in Rockford to create jobs, then city will stand behind you. City will stand with you.
Give us one more item off that 10-step plan, Ronnie.
Well, the other one is we have to begin to reform our criminal justice system. I'm sorry, but it sucks.
What's wrong with it?
Number one, you have too many people who are pleading guilty who are not guilty. And then when that is found out, that makes the city as a whole look bad. We can do better.
And they're pleading guilty because it's the path of least resistance,
Exactly.
I would guess.
Because basically they're being told, well, I'll hold you here, and if you want to go home, plead guilty, we'll let you go home. So after a while, you throw your hands up, okay, fine, all right, I'm guilty. What'd you do? I don't know. And the last bastion of equality is thought to be our court system. And everybody should feel comfortable by going to court because that's the place where you can plead your case and you got an impartial person sitting up on that bench that will decide, whether you're right or wrong. When you begin to lose faith in your own criminal justice system, you begin to lose faith in just about everything else, even in humanity itself. Because of everywhere you went, you've been inundated with things that just doesn't feel right. You would feel like you got to have one place where you can go. But we have some very honorable public defenders, but they're taxed.
Sure, I would guess that they're overwhelmed.
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, it's like they walk in there and they'll call out a name and then they'll stand there but
they don't know who their own client is.
Exactly. And they only meet with them.
At some point, yeah.
Right, and they only meet with them for like the first 5 minutes before they go back and see the judge. Now, how is that adequate representation for a veteran like myself? You fight, you bleed, you sweat, and sometimes some of us even die, so that every one of us can enjoy that freedom of knowing that if we just do right, if we play by the rules, we're going to be fine. But when you're of a section of society where that is not the case, you tend to want to just throw your hands up. And I think that's the number one reason. Well, I think there's three things that describes crime.
Now, Ronnie, is your 10-point plan something that you're working on, or is it done?
It's done, but there's still I'm finding out by just listening to other people, because the question you asked was a perfect one, but I had never really considered that. And the only reason why is you have to put those in there. I have to write it in now.
Mm-hmm.
So now when someone see the plan, they can make it a little clearer.
So it's evolving.
That's why I really love the questions that I'm being asked. It's because that makes me go, ooh, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, okay, I need to make that clearer.
Where can I direct people to find it online?
Well, I've got it on my Facebook page,
Okay.
facebook.com/Manns for Mayor.
And that's Manns for people listening, not watching. That's Manns with two N's, so two N's. So MANNS for Mayor, and 4 is spelled out, not the number. So, Ronnie, I know you're a West Sider. Real quick, a few things you love about the West Side.
Oh my goodness, the diversity is the key. It is, to me, it is so beautiful to just drive down the street and see people interacting with each other and not have one care of color.
How do you feel about racial relations in Rockford?
I believe that there has been a lag to the point where some have not been held truly accountable for their actions. They've been allowed to use excuses to get away with things. One gentleman that I met not recently told me that the reason that he feels as though he can take other people's stuff is because they took his stuff. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, what do you mean they took your stuff? And he says, slavery. Dude, you weren't even born. They didn't take your stuff. But it's an excuse. And it's sad because that very same gentleman has the same opportunities, the same freedoms, the same chances that anybody else have. But when you decide to stay in that rut where it's all somebody else's fault instead of your own, when you stop owning your decisions, when you stop being in control of your own destiny, that's nobody's fault but your own. I created a little saying that says, the only person who can set the true limitations on you is you. Can't nobody tell you who you can be and where you can go, and no, you decide that. So if you decide you want to sit around the house, watching Oprah and eating bonbons, fine. But don't blame anybody else because they are riding around in a brand new car and you're walking around your, tore up tennis shoes. That's wrong. And don't go around trying to take somebody else's things because you feel like they owe you. They don't owe you. You owe yourself.
Ronnie, what else do you like about the West Side?
The beautiful part is you see people helping each other and they don't expect anything in return. It's beautiful. There was a car on the side of the road, and I was coming around the corner, and before I could make up my mind that I was going to stop to help this person, there was 3 other cars stopped. And this lady offered them some kind of compensation for their time.
Wow.
They would not have it. For me, it makes me proud.
We've got to wrap up in a minute because we've got a hard out. We've got a phone call coming in we have to deal with for another show. But I just want to quickly summarize some of the things we talked about before the show, kind of into a sentence or two. Ronnie, you strike me as the kind of guy who sees the best in what Rockford has.
Without a doubt.
In the people here.
Without a doubt.
You see a lot of creativity. You see a lot
God.
of potential, a lot of good energy. It sounds like you think that we focus so much on the negative that a lot of that other good stuff gets lost.
True. And that really kind of, I guess I'm going to say it anyway. It bothers me. It really do. It bugs me to no end. You see someone, you say hello, and you immediately start looking for something negative. No. There's so much good in people. There is. And we just don't want to see it. And it's really sad. It's really sad.
It sounds like part of your plan is to kind of harness or channel or utilize that kind of good energy that you see in people to make this a better city. Is that fair?
That's very fair because, I mean, think about creating things.
Mm-hmm.
I have 7 inventions. I know how difficult it is to get it to market. You just don't have it unless you have some rich uncle in the corner somewhere or, you know, you happen to win the lottery. You can't get it to market.
So, Ronnie,
There's a whole lot of people that has those too.
So, Ronnie, people can find you at Manns for Mayor. Do you have any events coming up people should know about?
We got
And Manns for Mayor is on Facebook. You have any events?
that Alpine. There's an Alpine Ridge. That's a mayoral forum there coming up. And I can't call.
We'll
it
put the
off
link.
the-
We'll put the link to that in the show notes so that everybody's aware of that.
But I do want to say something though. What you guys have here is a great thing.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about getting excited about the people of Rockford. What you guys have created here is huge. Please, please don't let nobody talk you out of changing it.
Well, Ronnie,
Thank you.
I really appreciate hearing that.
That's very nice.
That made my night. Now, we want to have you back. We'll have you back after the primary. We'll kind of see which Republican comes out of the primary, and they'll have you back, or we may do some type of get-together before that. And if we do, we'll certainly let you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Ronnie,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
so much
you.
for your time,
All right.
and good luck.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks. Very nice. Thank you.